multiplier here, Q&A, round 1. So yeah, these are the questions I got asked on my Facebook. I hit up a message like 2 hours ago, like, hit me up with questions and I'll answer them. So here's the first batch. So some pretty good questions. First of all, Richie Ashby. Do you master yourself or do you have a record label do it for you? I assume you're talking about official releases. As you expect for free downloads, I'll always just do it myself. But for official releases, sometimes I do it myself, sometimes I get the label to do it for me. So, say my first EP, SDFU, I got a high chai to send it off to an outside mastering house, whereas Bass Invading, that EP, did it myself. So, most labels worth their while will give you the option to kind of get it mastered out of house, but some artists in particular just like having full control over everything, so they prefer to master it themselves. It's just something you work out with the label, basically. But yeah, yes and no. Michael Shoop, how do you make good music? Well, you analyze tracks you really like and try and pick out the elements of those tracks that are the elements that make you like it. So whether it's sound design or songwriting, whatever it is, whatever the aspect of the track is you really like, you've got to analyze it and then pick out which bits are good, because like there's a lot of thought goes into stuff. Like pop music's a classic example. Like people think they just kind of churn out pop bangers, but there's so much thought goes into it, but you don't realize, and you don't actually hear all those details, and you don't realize why you like it. So when you hear a track on the radio that's like pop music and you like it, you're not thinking about why you like it. You just like it. You don't know why. But a lot of thought goes into making those tracks the way they are. So by analyzing stuff you like, you can kind of figure out what bits are good and what elements you might want to incorporate onto your track as well. Cool. So that's that. Yeah, basically analyze shit you like and figure out the good bits. So yeah, good question. Jake Breathe, why do you produce music? First of all, because it looked like a bit of fun. And then yeah, it turned out it was fun, really satisfying. I like doing it. It's hard to really know why, but yeah, it's just what I do. Yeah. And Jake Breathe again. What is your dream in your career? Where is the final stage for you? Well, somewhere in between Skrillex, Ricky Gervais, and Steve Jobs. So not shooting very high, obviously, but yeah, I don't just want to be a DJ. Don't just want to produce music. Don't just want to run a label. Want to kind of do a bit of everything, to be honest. Like, but as long as it's creative and it's creating something cool and adding something to the world, it's all good in the hood, as they say. Colin Miller, philosophical question. Do you believe there's such a thing as good and bad music, or is it subjective? Something I believe quite strongly in, actually, because most people I speak to seem to think there's good music and bad music, and there's a song is either good or bad, and that just doesn't make any sense at all. There's no such thing as a objectively good or bad song. It is completely subjective. I mean, a prime example is, say, dubstep, because dubstep, it is the worst thing in the world for some people. It's the best thing in the world for other people. And it's also not just the person, it's the time and the place. Like, I could love a song now and hate it in 20 minutes time. Doesn't mean the song's got worse in 20 minutes time, or even the song's changed in 20 minutes. It is down to the environment, the person, and millions of factors. So no such thing as good and bad music, just whether or not someone likes it at a particular time or not. Similarly, there's also no metrics for measuring it. I mean, I guess you could argue, if say 2 million people like it, like one track, and 2 people like another track, is the track that has 2 million likes better? Well, not necessarily, because I mean, a lot of people think pop music's bad, but a lot more people like pop music, and if those 2 people love that song a lot more than, say, those 2 million people only think that song is quite good, and a different song is quite good, I mean, there's no metrics either. So literally, just get that concept out of your head. Just make shit you like, basically. Don't pander to people. It doesn't get you anywhere. At least not in the long term. And then Colin Miller again. Are you a fan of soundtrack music, like the stuff from Hans Zimmer? Yeah. I don't really know much about soundtrack music, but in general, I do seem to like it. Not that I make it myself, but maybe when I get a bit older, I might start making it. Who knows? And same person again. Do you have any formal music training, or did you learn by self-experience? I have had 0 formal music training. I don't even know what key is. Don't know what I'm doing when I'm making music. Didn't do music production. Literally learned by YouTube and reading manuals and having to play about. And yeah, so literally, like, I couldn't tell you what key my track is in, and I just literally get melodies or chords by playing stuff randomly till it sounds cool. Same with producing stuff. So I don't have a really like formal, proper like methodology. I just kind of whatever works. I didn't even do watch that many YouTube tutorials when I started off. I just watched enough to get going, and then everything I learned was from like, I'd say watching interviews with kind of like the pro producers is where I learn most of my stuff. So those like future music videos are some of the best things ever. Definitely recommend them because I learn more from the conceptual side of things than from technical. So if someone shows me this is how you make a cool dubstep patch, cool, but that won't help me much. But if say like Crookers explains their thinking behind mixing down a track, I get a lot more from that because that's the important stuff. Like you pick up all the details about how to make a cool sound or how to make a kick drum sound big. You learn all that stuff as you go along. Like the most important thing is you understand conceptually what's going on with stuff. So yeah, definitely I'd focus more on kind of interviews with pros than I would on making a cool synth preset. Saying that, most of my videos are like synth preset stuff, so watch them too. Definitely. Next one, same person, Colin Miller. If somebody has writer's block, or rather in this case, composer's producer's block, what would you advise? Actually, he's written it right. I'm reading it wrong. What would your advice be to overcome something like that? So basically, if you're not feeling inspired, listen to music, because inspiration rarely comes out of nowhere. It comes from you hearing something and then you get an idea off the back of it. So either I'll hear a song I like and I'll be like, well, cool, got an idea, let's do it. Or if that isn't the approach, maybe if I'm just playing about presets, bashing about on the keyboard, then that random process of trying stuff randomly might spark an idea. So maybe you have a dig through your samples folder or just listen to music you like. That's the best way to overcome it. But sometimes just won't happen. Just move on, do something else that day. Next one, Joshua Smith. Can I remix a song of yours? Yeah, if it's just a bootleg without the stems, just feel free to do it. If you want the stems, message me up and I'll see if I can find them. But I've lost most of my stems, so unless this is like Rage, maybe I probably won't have the stems for it. But yeah, feel free. I don't mind. Yeah, send it me when it's done because I like hearing them. They're cool. Shasuke Naokawa. Why are you so good at making music? If it's a serious question, then I guess probably it just comes down to me analysing what works and what doesn't work and listening, like probably watching every single interview with every professional dance music producer on the internet. If that's as close as a reason as I can come up with. Yep, that's that. But yeah, it's all relative anyway. I mean, I'm good compared to some people, but not good compared to a lot of people. So it is all relative at the end of the day. Only people like Rob Swire can really claim to be properly amazing at it. Oleg Ponte, why multiplier? Well, I just needed a word that was easy to spell. Want it to be not too long, not too short. In hindsight, I wouldn't choose it again just because it's not very good for Google search kind of SEO. Like if you type in multiplier, I don't come up that near the top. Whereas like Relentik, the first thing that pops up is Relentik. So I choose something more like Relentik next time. But yeah, it all came from me wanting the logo to be somewhat related to the name and being unoriginal. I thought I'd go with a cross shape. So I went with the cross and I was like, multiplication sign, yeah, multiplier, that'll do. I'm sure there's some connection subconsciously because I was doing a maths degree at the time, but it wasn't a conscious decision at all. Oleg Ponting, do you doubt yourself as a musician? Not really. I mean, I don't consider what I do music in the same way that, say, classical music is musical. It is music, but it's not technically music. So I'm not a musician. Like if I told someone I was a musician, I'd feel like I was misleading them. But I'm not just a sound designer, if that makes sense. So it's a weird middle ground. It's hard to say. There's not really a right word for it right now. Oleg Ponte again. Are you worried about ending a 60-year-old DJ? No, because I don't want to just do DJing, basically. As I said earlier, I don't just want to do DJing, I want to do business stuff as well. So, which is why the question makes sense. Yeah, there's no chance of me DJing beyond 30, 35, to be honest. I might still make music, but I can't see myself raving it out, going hard at 35, 40, to be honest. Not like Tiesto. So yeah, that's why I need the business stuff going on. And to be honest, I'd get bored of it if I just did DJing, just making the same stuff over and over again. So I see myself on doing a lot more businessy shit when I get older. So I find that awesome too. Daniel Gargo, have you say it? Full track tutorial, thanks. I guess I'll do another one of them. Thomas Blickstad, what to do if every time you start making a new song, it doesn't work, if you know what I mean. Yeah, basically, I think I know what you mean. Possibly. If you're referring to the fact that all the songs sound the same because you end up doing things in the same way every time, I would say basically restrict yourself. So if you've been using the same samples, just ban yourself from using those samples. If you're using, say, Massive and all your synth or your bass patches sound the same, it's because you're making them in the same way. Just don't use Massive. Try to use something else. Or just literally try something different. It sounds simple, but just approach things in a completely different way. So if you normally start with getting some drum sounds, auditioning some hits, and building up a loop, try something different. Start with a melody. So just mix things up, basically. But if you're referring to the fact that the things just aren't working for whatever reason, maybe you just need more inspiration, or either that or just finish songs. Don't just get a little bit in and think it's not working and give up. So, don't know. It's hard to say. Dimitar Mia Lov. How long have you been producing for? 2.5 years. And I've been listening to music, dance music, for about 2.5 years plus 2 months. So pretty much I started producing and DJing 2 months after I first heard dubstep, because I was just overly confident and overly ambitious, as you do. So yeah, not that long, to be honest. How do you make sick Massive presets? Understand how Massive works, understand sound design, and then experiment. That's what you need to do. That's a short answer. How can I get copyright? I think you get copyright standard. I don't think you have to ask for it. I'm not a copyright expert, but I think whenever you make something, copyright is assigned to you. So wouldn't have to worry about that. There's a few other things, if like you need to register copyrights for certain uses potentially, but I don't really know how that works. But yeah, you think by default you get copyright. You don't have to worry about that. Mohammed Mahan Harizaz, what are your core tactics for making all the elements of a mix shine? Any particular tips and tricks? Main tactics is really putting things consciously in their place. So whether it's putting a synth consciously in the middle or really wide, or whether it's putting something in a certain frequency range, doing things consciously and doing things for a reason. So if it's putting a synth really wide, don't just put it wide because you feel like you should. Think about why it should be wide and why you would want it to be wide. So yeah, and my main tactics, I guess, is I don't know. Main ones is take the low end out of everything that isn't a kick or a sub bass. And other ones, maybe I like stuff really wide, so just make stuff wide within reason. You can't make stuff too wide. People who just yap on about it needing to sound amazing in mono can just shut up, because most of the world is moving away from mono, even club systems. So to be honest, like, people will play it in the club even if it doesn't sound that great. So unless you're making just a DJ weapon, but I'm not as fussed about that. I'm not necessarily a club DJ in the traditional sense anyway. So yeah, any particular tips and tricks? Should probably give you a specific one. Yeah, reverb. It's probably a good one. If you solo any particular track and add reverb, it will sound better. But you got to bear in mind when you mix it all together, that reverb can get lost. So be really particular in what you put reverb on. Like, it works a lot better if you want a lot of reverb to put a really wet reverb on a few channels instead of putting a little bit on a lot. So there are some things like compression that tend to work better by putting a little bit on lots of things, whereas like reverb works a lot better if you put quite a lot on a small number. Saying that, a little bit of subtle reverb here and there, it's quite cool. Just don't leave a massive tail if you do that, because it just adds to this big sea of reverb, and you don't want a big sea for the mix to sit in. It just sounds horrible. Lawton Terabili or Terabile, something like that. What synths do you mainly use? Massive and FM8 exclusively. And do you use presets or your self-made sounds? Depends on the synth. If it's like a lead line, I'll always make it myself. If it's a bass, I will always use it myself, or I will very, very heavily process a sample. If it's, say, like a pad, which I don't really use that often, I use a preset. If it's like a instrument sound, I use a preset. But yeah, if it's kind of like, if it's a particular sound, like maybe a piano, or if I want kind of like a brassy sound, I'll just use a preset. I won't make it. But if it's like, I want like a really nice piercing lead sound, I make it myself because I can make interesting ones. I know how to do it. And same with bass sounds, I make it myself because it just sounds a lot more me and different if I make it myself. I don't know how to do it. So if you know how to do it and it doesn't take you too long, then just do it yourself. Square Ed, how is your life? Awesome. I wasn't sarcastic, genuinely loving shit right now. Oleg Ponte, what is the meaning of life? There isn't a meaning of life. Lucas Boyj, or Boyj, why don't you add more cowbell? Because I tried that on a track and it went horribly wrong. Although I might do it as a joke, it might be quite funny. Callum Diverso Talented Miller. Oh, it's Colin Miller again. Apologies if it seemed like I'm spamming people. That wasn't the question. It's an apology. Yeah, well, that's it. Maybe if I refresh, there might be another one. Is that it? Let's have a quick look. So yeah, that's it for now. Maybe I'll do another one of these in a bit, but let me know if you want to do more. But yeah, a bunch of questions and shit. I've been Multiplier.